What up, family? It's motherfucking Strong Dad. So today I wanted to talk about ego lifts, okay? And before we get into this conversation, let's talk about the people who should not be ego lifting, and that's novices and beginners, okay? Novices and beginners make a lot of mistakes when it comes to ego lifting. First of all, they don't understand where you're supposed to ego lift, okay? Meaning they ego lift on the squat, on the bench, on the deadlift, and on the leg press, which are four of the worst places to try to perform an ego lift, okay? And we'll get into that. And then secondly, they are still in the space where they haven't gotten quality stimulative sets, reps done. They don't understand mechanical tension. They don't understand mind-muscle connection. They're still working on the basics. And if you're working on the basics, you should not be ego lifting. Your main focus should be quality sets performed in a strict manner and getting stronger. That's it. And yes, ego lifting can help you get stronger, but again, if you are a novice or beginner, you shouldn't be ego lifting. Now let's go back to the places that they do these four exercises where you shouldn't be ego lifting at. This is why they're disqualified. That's why y'all are disqualified, okay? We're going to start with the squat. If you're performing a squat, you shouldn't be performing it past failure. It's plain and simple. Unless it's on a Smith machine, you should not be performing a squat past failure. You just shouldn't be doing it. The only people who are qualified to perform squats past failure are professionals, are people who are advanced in their career. Why? Because chances are they are using safety racks, some sort of catch system, and or spotters, right? And most novices and beginners don't ever fucking do this, all right? Partial sets on a squat aren't beneficial, and sets past failure that put your back in danger, that can get you, where you can fall on or, God forbid, get crushed on, they're not beneficial. All right. The second place is the bench press. First of all, we've seen guys die from ego lifting on the bench press. If you are lifting past failure on the bench press, most guys aren't doing it with safety racks, and these are typically novices and beginners, which is a horrible thing to do. And then also, when it comes to the body English that you need to perform an ego lift, there's really no space for that on the bench press without taking you out of the range that keeps the weight on your chest. Once you start lifting your ass 20 feet off the bench, you're no longer engaging your chest. I hate to break it to you, and you're gonna fuck yourself up. You're putting yourself in line for shoulder pain, which is why most of y'all feel that shit, okay? The next spot is gonna be the deadlift. A lot of guys, they try to ego lift on the deadlift. And again, you can break your back or you can make your back. And ego lifting on the deadlift is going to do nothing but break your back. It's not going to make it. This is why a lot of you, I don't do deadlifts anymore because I've got back problems. It's because your dumbass loaded up 4 plates when you can barely do 285, my nigga. That's why that shit happened. Okay. The last place you shouldn't be ego lifting, which is where novices ego lift, is going to be the fucking leg press. And this is people are notorious for ego lifting on the leg press. You load up 20,000 plates on each side and you do these little mini partial reps. They're not stimulative. I hate to break it to you. That's why your legs are still skinny as sticks. All right. And if they're massive, it ain't from that. It's from your genetics, my dog. Okay. Or they load it up with all this weight and they use their hands and push their knees the whole entire time. And that's why you're not fucking getting stimulative sets either. There's no point in doing it. The body English also, again, the body English needed for the ego lift. There's no space for, if you're doing an exercise where strict movement is required to prevent injury, that is not a place to ego lift. That's not a place to ego lift. Yes, you can lift to 0 RIR, right? 0 reps in reserve safely with a spotter, but ego lifting is typically a little bit past failure. Okay. Now let's define this ego lifting so you guys understand, so that there's more context here. An ego lift is not starting off with a weight that you cannot perform in a strict manner and using body English through the whole set. That's not a proper ego lift. A proper ego lift is the last few reps in a quality stimulative set, All right. The last few reps in a quality stimulative set where you are using body English, employing other muscle groups to add to the stimulus you're getting to that primary muscle group. A great place would be either the leg press or the barbell curl. These are perfect spots to teach you. Okay. You're doing the barbell curl. You've performed all of your sets in the strict manner. All of your reps in a strict manner, and you're on those last, let's say 3 reps, right? That third one, you're like that. A little bit of body English. The one after that, you're like that maybe. And then after that, maybe you're like that. But because you're a little more advanced, you are still maintaining mechanical tension on your biceps. Okay, you're a little more advanced, so the entire time you've been performing a stimulative set, so your biceps are really burning right now, but you want to get those last partial reps in. Okay, this is ego lifting is partial reps. Okay, that's when you're and then we can even go further into the lengthened partial. Actually, I'm gonna talk about lengthened partials on Friday. That's a whole video on its own. But let's back to this. Or you're on your leg extension, okay? You're doing your leg extension, and the same thing. You know, you're like, You can use a tiny bit of body English, little bit of rock forward, just to kick it up. That's an ego lift. Ego lifts are when you employ that little bit of body English to get the set done, to get those last few reps past failure. Because remember, once you're there, you're already at technical failure, right? You're no longer strictly performing the movement properly. So you're already adding a little bit of body English. You're past failure now. The more body English you employ, the more past failure you're going. This is also equivalent to failure training, which is just using ego lifts properly. Okay. That's the ego lift. Now that you understand how to ego lift, please use it properly. Okay. There are places where ego lifts are meant and places where they're not meant for. Again, if you are if you're doing an exercise where strict body movement is required for safety, then that's not a place to do the ego lift. Machines are great places to do ego lifts. You can do ego lifts with bent over rows like dumbbell rows or barbell rows, but you still want to be a little careful with the yanking motion because you can hurt your back like that. This is true. Even if you're intermediate, even if you're advanced, you can still throw your back out with the ego lift easily. So be careful, you guys, when you employ this shit. And like I said, we'll talk about lengthened partials on Friday. I'm gonna meet up with the homie for the chest and back workout, and then we can, because lengthened partials for your back, when we talk about blowing up your back, giving yourself a big wide back, lengthened partials, my boy, lengthened partials, trust me. So we'll get into that conversation later on at the end of the week. Much love, y'all. If you stuck with it this long, I appreciate it. Like it, at least. Comment. You know what I'm saying? If you disagree, tell me I'm a dumb nigga and tell me why. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, much love and peace.